because in a theater it's a horrible experience. But what was your experience watching it from home, though?
Boredom, I guess.
In this house.
Drive-by movies, you're watching
Fresh releases.
My name is Blaze.
And my name is James.
And this week we're talking the brand new Shudder original film, Skinamarink.
Skinamarink has gotten all the TikTok hype. It was released in theaters and surprisingly has been doing well, and also recently just came out on Shudder. It's about two children who wake up in the middle of the night to find their father is missing, and all the windows and doors in their home have vanished. So that sounds like a nightmare that all of us have had as a kid. I feel like this movie, a lot of people are like applauding its feeling of like not nostalgia, I guess, but just that feeling of that scary nightmare-esque feeling that we all went through as kids whenever you don't know what's happening or if you feel alone or in the dark and stuff. But did it capture it well, and did it need to be told? Blaze, what are your initial thoughts?
So I think I was really roped in the beginning for exactly what you said. There was like this idea of the fact that this is like a nostalgic nightmare that we all once had maybe as a child. And I definitely remember like as a kid, I would kind of lay in my bed, not really tired, but closed my eyes and ready to go to sleep. And I would almost like could see I don't know if it's astral projection or what, but I could almost see myself from the ceiling of my bedroom, something like that, I guess. I know that's a common thing that people could do, or is a memory that people have. So that was something that I feel like this film almost, like I got the vibe from, like, I wouldn't say the promotion, but all the talk of the town about this film, that maybe it was going to tap into that. Maybe this was going to be kind of interesting, and it would be like, oh wow, this is bringing up childhood memories that I didn't really know I had, almost, in a way. But anyways, getting into, I think that's how we all got roped into the theater. This film, though, is extremely disappointing in the sense that there is a lot of warning signs and red flags, I feel like, as soon as the film began. And it seemed to kind of take the course of the runtime for me to just feel like I was having the same experience I had. I think when we were about 17, we saw this experimental film. This isn't like my first experimental film by any means. I can't say I've enjoyed a ton of them, but there are other experimental type pictures, maybe a la David Lynch or something that, I very much enjoy. This obviously is more on the experimental end, but wow, was this film, I feel like it could have been 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I know this is originally based on, I think, a 30-minute short film, and I think that the film Heck, which is, I guess, what this was based on, probably just said all that there was to say.
Yeah, this movie was an experience, that's for sure. I saw it in theaters. I was surprised by probably 30 to 40 people I saw it with at a noon showing in Burbank and stuff. I was quite surprised by how big the audience was for at that time. And also because this movie is getting a lot of word of mouth on TikTok and Letterboxd, but it's still not so much getting like mainstream attention, but it was enough to get people interested. It got me hyped because I don't follow the new Shudder movie releases as much as you do. You like fill me in with a lot of the cool ones that are coming out and stuff. But this is the one that I brought up to you, and just like, what a letdown and stuff. And this is the kind of movie I feel like you said, would have worked well as a 20-minute short film. And that's what it started, I guess, as. But this is the movie where you show a 20-minute version of this to get a long version where you can actually put in events that happen. And when the events happen in this movie, they are effective and creepy, but to get there, you're going through so much. And like, I was over it after 20 minutes, and like, I went to go see it with a friend who's not used to seeing movies like this, and he says it's the worst thing he's ever seen, which I totally understand. This movie is not for someone who enjoyed Malignant and Megan and has seen this kind of a horror film that I was like hyping up as like, yo, this is apparently one of the scariest movies of recent years. And I see why people find it so creepy. I think though it's more effective watching it at home on a laptop, like in your early 20s. When I was first getting into film, like I might have been a little bit more like, wow, this movie is interesting, but I probably still wouldn't have enjoyed it that much. But I think that is kind of the way like this movie is meant to be watched, I feel like, because in a theater, it's a horrible experience. But what was your experience watching it from home though?
Boredom, I guess. Like I just to be honest, yeah, this film really takes forever to get where it's going, and there's really nothing. It's so experimental, so avant-garde that really the scenes, like you said, that do set up where there maybe is like an actor in it, and it's not just a shot of some Legos on the floor, something really boring and nothing going on. And I mean, I don't know if this film, I didn't look into, was this film actually, do you know if it was shot on film? I don't think it really adds anything to the conversation if it was or if it wasn't. But
I assume it was. I didn't look up the info, but it looks like it's shot on like 8mm film.
I'm guessing that it was like 18 layers of film grain. In my opinion, that's what it looked like. It looked like 18 different layers of digital film grain. But you could be right. It could be 8mm, but very underexposed, so it's super noisy. But it really doesn't do anything for anything in this movie. The most interesting stuff, was the royalty-free cartoons that were played throughout the film.
I mean, yeah, like I said, the creepy moments are effective, but there's only probably 4 creepy moments I can name off the top of my head, and you're going through 20 minutes to get to those creepy moments at a time. So it's just so bizarre, just like having to sit through there. Like, I'll admit that this was like one of the nicest theater experiences I went to, just because everyone was quiet the whole movie. There was one walkout like probably halfway through, I remember, but everyone was just quiet, just waiting for something to happen, or was on the edge of their seat. And some people were saying like that was freaky, but a lot of people were also saying that like, what the hell was that and stuff. And it's going to be very diversive, and a lot of people are going to be very divided talking about this movie. But audio wise, it was just so painful to watch this movie, just because I don't know what the proper term for it would be, but just like all the audio sounds like it's all on just one layer of sound. If you know editing, we're editors for, these YouTube videos, and we've worked on other projects and stuff. You know that there's different sound layers that you're going through, whether you use Premiere or Final Cut Pro. But just sounds like everything's just all on one track. And so whenever there was a loud sound, it was piercing my ears, and I was constantly having to close my ears due to the humming sounds. And, it's just it was just so over the top loud to where I was just like, I can't do this. Where I imagine using Apple headphones, like the old school ones in the day, it would just destroy your ears if you had it on max volume.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Actually, that was one of the things I noticed the most about the editing in this film, was the audio cuts were very abrupt. I don't know if that was done for any sort of effect, but I can't imagine any Q&A for this. I'm just shocked that this film was able to build so much hype. And I don't even know if it's really hype, because it almost feels synthetic in a way. We've seen films like this, feature-length films, that have played at film festivals, and that's where they went to die. Essentially, there's no way that they were getting a feature release, in theaters. It was just for a film festival. So I'm just wondering why this film actually went, wide. Maybe was it the backing of Shudder? I don't really know where Shudder enters the story for Skinamarink. Whether they were in contact before this film was made or what. It just isn't really line up with any of their other content for it to make sense. So I feel like it was more of the hype builder. But yeah, this film, one thing to note is I felt like any feature director almost that goes by 3 names or, uses his middle name is usually a red flag for me. If it's his first feature, and sometimes that's false, but I feel like sometimes that's also true. The other thing for me was the fact that this was 1 hour and 40 minutes long. And after 20 minutes, I'm just like, what are you possibly going to do with the extra 10 minutes that you allotted after the 90-minute mark? You know, we last week we watched Kids versus Aliens, which was 80 minutes long, and I felt like so much more was accomplished within that film, where this film feels like anybody could create this movie almost. I don't think that the artistry is really there, in the sense that it's only this creator could have created this movie. I feel like if you got a bunch of Legos and you had a couple rooms available to you, I don't even feel like there was a full set for this movie. I feel like if you had a couple rooms available to you, you could easily make this. There's multiple scenes where I laughed at the fact that there was a cast, because there's definitely multiple scenes where I'm pretty sure it was just a filmmaker behind the camera that was able to create some of these images. It was just voiceover with actors. Overall, though, I mean, it really does, the fact that it's not shackled by the strengths of narrative isn't its strong suit. And it's just, I don't know, it's disappointing that in the time of right now where it's hard enough to get people to the theater, this film successfully accomplished getting people into the theater. But is it really going to be doing a disservice by making them not return almost?
I mean, here's the problem with this movie. A lot of people are hyping it up to be something that's like a game changer and stuff. Like, is it a game changer? I don't think so. And I hope this doesn't create a wave of indie movies like this, just because there's a lot of movies that are made where I'm just like, how did they make this movie with this kind of budget and stuff? This movie with 30 grand, I don't know what the 30 grand was spent on. Like, I mean, if it was shot on film, I know film is expensive, but that was the budget of this film, 30 grand. And you know, like, I was just like, I feel like we easily could have made this movie for the same, for way less and everything.
Was it the rent?
We could have got our friends' kids to act in it and stuff. And what were you saying?
Was it his rent? The 30 grand was like his rent for the year to make this movie or something?
They rented the apartment and made sure to get apartments for like a month to cover.
That is hilarious that the budget on this film is 30 grand. Because 30 grand might sound like, wow, you made this movie at 30 grand, but watch the movie. There's no way this costs 30 grand. It's laughable.
Right. 15 grand for Paranormal Activity still astounds me. That is like the standard where it's just like, what, are you kidding me? Blair Witch Project, I forgot. I know that's in the thousands also, but just like, you know, I know dollars have been stretched over years, like to where, you know, things are now more expensive. 30 grand is nowhere near like you know, that's more equivalent to being like less money back then, I guess. But just like, I don't know what the deal is right now, and just like this movie just wasn't for me. It's you know, I don't think it's going to be a game changer. Like, if anything, it might inspire some people to feel like they can make a movie and stuff. But if it's more along the lines of this, like, keep it at a short film, I'm saying, please. Like, just because this movie ain't it. Sadly, like, I feel bad tearing it apart. I want to see new filmmakers come out, especially in the horror genre. But we do get them, and just this one wasn't for me.
And sadly, I think that the only thing that this movie will inspire is people to stop going to the theater. If they had a bad experience watching this movie, it's just, it almost puts on this facade of like, if this could get in theaters, what's next, almost. Right. So, I mean, I like that you know, distributors took a chance on this movie, but I really am worried on the implications on that is on the theatrical as a whole, because it is not the healthiest industry at the moment. We've seen AMC trying to raise prices in the theater itself, which is honestly ridiculous. I mean, it just cannibalize your own market as it is, and make the movie theater experience just extremely more enjoyable than it already is when you can easily watch a movie at home at your own pace. It's just disappointing that now we're getting the experience almost degrading from films that are just not of quality.
Yeah, because we got some great movies that hit Shudder over the year that we've reviewed and stuff. And, you know, I mean, I assume Shudder had reasons for putting this out just because it's only 30 grand. I assume they bought it for a very decent price. And I mean, honestly, there's only a profit you can make from 30 grand, I feel like, if it played in theaters. So kudos for that. I assume that's why they're like pushing this one and stuff. It was an easy sell to advertise it as the new Paranormal Activity with the low budget and stuff. So, you know, just honestly, it's pretty easy to make like the budget back of the movie within one weekend and still make some money that they might not have made when we're talking about Kids versus Aliens having video on demand, then eventually getting released on Shudder. But like we said, the movie is now on Shudder. You can stream it there. Another great way to help support the show is by watching it through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below. After doing that, come back here, let us know what you thought about this movie and whether we're right or wrong.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And if you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, we're also on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and we also have our own Letterboxd accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.